Diablo 4's biggest draw is the vast variety of ways you can play your character. From the elemental powers of a druid to the super strong shape-shifting combos. From the blood abilities of the necro to the minion madness of their summons. There are tons of ways to approach your playthrough of Diablo. In this video today, I want to talk about some of the struggles people are encountering with their builds on whatever character they're playing. Before we get started, I will say that this video is an op-ed piece where I will be talking about my opinion and methods to approaching Diablo. There is no real concrete fact in here that I'm going to reveal, such as like a specific mechanic or what have you that's going to make you better. I just want to be upfront about that. And if you're not interested, then please just feel free to shut the video down. As with all my videos, I don't want to waste your time. I want you to get back to enjoying Diablo as much as you can. What we will talk about is how you should be approaching your builds and playstyle in Diablo to help maximize both your enjoyment and your effectiveness in the game. There aren't really any chapters to jump forward to like I usually have, and I unfortunately don't have really a good too long didn't watch of the video like I usually do. I guess the entire video can be summed up with the notion that you should be playing this game how you want, not how any content creator, myself included, Reddit, forums, game publications, or what have you, tells you how to play. Who cares if your build isn't the strongest meta build or you can't push the highest nightmare dungeon? All that matters is that you enjoy what you're doing and feel like, at the end of the day, you're getting something out of your playtime. The video ahead will just have gameplay from various characters, so feel free to sit back and just listen and enjoy. If you are heading out, please don't forget to like, comment, and or subscribe. Each one of those things does help me out in a very, very huge way. Also, as I've always said, I have a massive playlist filled with all of my guides and how-tos for Diablo 4, linked in the description as well as at the end of the video if you need help with any other subjects. Lastly, please don't forget to follow me on Twitch, where I will be streaming Diablo 4 and other games. Let's get started here on, is it you or is it your build? So let's start off with a conversation about like the concept of your build, right? Your build is something that is, by and large, a community construct, right? Whether it's a post or a video, whatever it is, it's initially really created for one of two purposes. You've got one, some sort of optimized way of play, and two, FOMO, or fear of missing out, especially if it's coming from a content creator such as myself, right? And I'm not excluding myself from any of the things that we're about to talk about, right? I am definitely part of this mix. Part of the really terrible way of looking at YouTube is that we're surrounded with this hyperbolic way of talking. And if you don't take part in that, right? If you don't say the best, most ultimate, high, top tier damage, split your nutsack open build, then you're just not going to get the views. So it's a terrible kind of game you have to play. And some people have said, hey, this isn't the best build. Why the hell did you put that in the title? Because the guy above me and below me has far more hyperbole in their title, and I have to play that game. It's why all my videos will always try to kind of upfront the knowledge and to get you in and out if I need to. But that's neither here nor there. But I think when you take a look at these builds, you always see some sort of just like over the top explanation of like, yeah, with this build I've gotten 35 million crit, and that's great and all, and I think that it's awesome that those things are here. And that is a big hallmark of an ARPG when you play like Diablo 3 or Diablo 2 or Path of Exile or Last Epoch or Grim Dawn. People look for those big, crunchy, beautiful, big numbers. And I think that is a good thing. But at the same time, when you play those meta builds and you jump into those meta builds and the meta build becomes an overwhelming part of the conversation, you start to lose the game that you're playing. You start to play someone else's build. You're starting to play someone else's method of playing. And I think what is so unique about Diablo 4 that I've not really been able to experience in any other ARPG other than Last Epoch is that I really appreciate making stuff from the ground up now. And I was never really able to do that. I don't think I was ever smart enough or good enough to do it in like Diablo 2 or Path of Exile, especially Path of Exile, which has just such an elaborate system of Paragon points and what have you. It's Paragon system, at least. It's Constellation system. But I think too many people get lost in the meta build. And I think that when you start to look at these meta builds, again, mine included, you shouldn't look at this from the analytical point of disproving or approving it. I think you should look at it from the what's cool about this build that I want to take and make into my own build. And that's probably one of the biggest takeaways you should get from any build video, build article, build post you read is, oh man, I love the synergy of what that guy did with Bone Prison and Blight. I'm going to bring that into my build. Or whoa, I didn't even know that that's how that thing interacted in the game. I'm going to start using it. And I think that this is a time where a lot of us that are coming in Diablo coming into Diablo are probably older gamers. We played Diablo 1 when we were kids, or Diablo 2 when we were kids, or 3 when we were jumping out of college, myself included. And we just don't really have the time. So I think it's kind of easy to jump onto a build and go, cool, this is going to put me on the rails. It's going to take me to the promised land and I'll be good to go. But what I think is so great here is that you can just make your own goddamn build. And I think that watching these build videos or these build guides and whatnot, I'm just going to say build guides and have it be all encompassing from this point forward. It's important to know that the build is coming down to a lot of things that you don't probably have control of when you jump into the build. Gear affixes, paragon points, and skill rotation. And also did I say aspects? Yeah, aspects and affixes, those two. And what you really kind of have to think about with those things is that it's going to really change the dynamic of the build you're making. Because if you don't have the proper affixes, maybe you're not getting the total big bad crunchy numbers you want. If you don't have all the aspects, then the build can't actually even come online 100% like you want. If you don't have all the paragon points and the glyphs leveled up, well then you really can't mimic that build 100%, can you? The big problem too is also skill rotation. I think unlike any other ARPG, D4 has a really huge emphasis on skill rotation. I've never really played an ARPG where I felt like, oh man, if I did not use those skill rotations in this exact way, I would rough up my whole entire build. Take the blood build that I use, for example. If I don't open up with a certain combination or use Rathmas at a certain point, then the build can't really come off in the way that I really want it to. So I think that understanding these things is a really crucial part of understanding a build guide and trying to take that into your own play style. So you should be approaching it with the mindset of, how do I get better at understanding the fundamentals and basics of the game so that a build guide doesn't make or break the game for me. It adapts itself and complements to my play style. I can kind of bend it around my way of playing a little bit more versus the other way around. Like, how do I complement the build? By doing whatever it says I need to do. Because if you look at those aspects and those affixes, more often than not, you'll need some sort of max roll for them and stuff like that. And that takes a lot of grinding to do. Whereas if you just understand from a fundamental level why those things exist where they exist, you can be a better player to take advantage of the build in its individual parts. And again, that's a big thing that I want you to really look at, is a lot of the build guides you're looking at are not necessarily backed with research and testing. Take a look at all of my theory crafted builds, which have lots of views on them. As stated in the beginning of the video, they're all theory crafted, and that's an important thing to know. It's like, hey, you know what? I saw a lot of these things. They look like they work really well in Synergy, but they probably don't once you jump into the game. There's probably a bug here, or maybe there's an actual aspect doesn't work in that way. Maybe it's additive versus multiplicative, all these things. So again, it's why I think you should really take a look at these build guides and use them as a blueprint to make you better. Because no matter what, if you're not a better player at the end of the day, the guide's not going to matter, because the guide will eventually get nerfed. The top tier meta build that does the most damage is going to get nerfed just by the virtue of balance patching and trying to make lesser things better and better things worse. It's just going to be how that is. So if you don't ever learn the game properly, if you don't really understand how vulnerable damage is in its own multiplicative bucket that adds tons of damage to the character, and you just see, oh yeah, I'm doing vulnerable damage, you're not going to understand why, when it's nerfed, how it is truly nerfed and how it truly affects you. You're going to see some sort of game rant article that says, vulnerable damage has been nerfed, the game will never recover. And you're going to be like, oh crap, I can't ever play my character again. So again, playing the build guides, watching the build guides should be something that inspires you to make a build guide of your own, a build of your own. And it's in the first time that I've ever played a game like this, like I've said before, where you can just simply press the keyword drop-down menu in either the skill menu or in the Paragon menu, and just select a feature. Hey, you know what? I really want to do a poison werewolf build. So I'm going to press the poison button on my druid in the keyword search dropdown, and I'm going to get all the poison skills and passives and make it work. Really realistically, you can push every single bit of content in this game by just simply doing that. You can get to level 100 doing just that. You do not need to push a nightmare dungeon that is 50 levels above you. Should you? I don't know. It's up to you, man. If that's what you want out of the game, is that top tier challenge, it exists. But if you're a casual gamer who just wants to simply play through the game, enjoy it here or there with some friends, play it on some off hours in between times when their kid's asleep or they're back from work, whatever it is, then you just don't need to play the top tier meta build all the time. And I think probably my last point here, this is a little bit longer than I think I had wanted to say, is that, you know, you deal with enough things in your life that constrain you. You deal with societal constraints, you deal with corporate constraints, you deal with timelines and dates you have to hit all the time. Why, when you jump into your escapism, are you going to throw those same levels of constraint onto yourself? If you want to play a Hurricane Druid that uses Lightning Bolt and shapeshifts into a Werebear and then uses Petrify, then fucking do it. It is your game. You spent the money. I want you to play the game that way that you want. And I think that there's too often you jump into a conversation where if you're not playing this way, then you're playing wrong. It's not like that. Please play the game however you want, because it's how you're gonna get the most fun out of it. You know what? You see, probably if you're brand new to the Diablo series, maybe you're really scared about how seasons are really gonna affect your character. And oh man, I don't really want to have to restart from scratch every time I play. What's this really gonna mean for me? Well, if you're playing the game how you want, every time you make a new character, and again, nothing's being deleted, by the way. Nothing's gonna get from scratched. You're just making a brand new experience in a new season. Every time you make a new character in a new season, you can now build it how you want if you understand those base mechanics. If you learn how to be better at looking at what things kind of synergize together, because that's really all this game comes down to is, okay, which keywords am I stacking? Is it overpower? Is it crackling energy for sorcerer? Is it vulnerable damage and lucky hit for my rogue? Whatever it is. If you just simply do that, if you just focus on those things, then go find the aspects that are listed on any number of websites that show you which aspects have that same keyword. You stack them into the respective slots and you're done. I know it's like everything I'm saying here is kind of making my own content obsolete in its own way, but I do really want people to play this game in their own way. And what I've noticed the most about the dialogue online, and I'm not talking about just my videos, is just the hyper-polarized way of people approaching the game. And I think that it kind of sucks the fun out of the game. It's like playing a Soulsborne game and having a bullet point read-through guide of where you should go, do every little thing. And again, at that point, are you even playing your own game, or are you just playing the guide? It's like BioShock used to say, right? Like, would you kindly? It's like, okay, that was the statement. Are we playing the game, or does the game play us? So hopefully at the end of the day, you got something out of this video. You feel maybe a little bit more galvanized to make a build how you want. You feel a little bit more inspired to look at build guides in a way of taking a look at constituent parts and putting them into your own sum total that you want for your gameplay and your guide. But at the same time too, if you're totally fine watching a guide video and going, cool, that's how I'm going to play, then do it. Like I've said, you spent $70 if you're in the US for this game. I'm dumb. I spent $100 for it. Play the game however the fuck you want. You're a busy person. I don't care if you're a college student. I don't care if you're an adult. I don't care if you're 12 years old. You got stuff you want to get done. So enjoy stuff the way that you want to, because you spent the money for it. But as always, guys, thank you so much for watching here today. If you have any questions about anything, or if you want to make a follow-up statement, by all means, let me know in the comment section below. I don't know if you have any questions, but I'm here to help you out if you need them. But as always, thank you so much for watching. Have a good one and take care.